Okay, welcome everyone, and very glad that you could join us today. My name is Paula Newcomb, and I'm the Northeast Regional Coordinator of the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I will be the host and question moderator for today's webinar, Staff Development Day, presented by Tina Snyder, Director of the Hancock County Public Library in Hawesville, Kentucky. After the webinar has been transcribed, it will be available on the Indiana State Library's Archive Webinars page. If you are watching an archived recording of this presentation, information on how to obtain your LEU is in the video's description in YouTube. For weekly updates on upcoming trainings and to learn more about what's happening in libraries across the state, please subscribe to the Indiana State Library's e-newsletter, The Wednesday Word. And also check out our continuing education website for other professional development opportunities. Well, I saw Tina give her presentation originally at the Association for Rural and Small Libraries conferences last year. She really has some great points about why staff days are so important, and also some awesome ideas that I've never thought of. I'm sure we have libraries of all sizes today, and some have done staff days for years and others have never done them. Just know that one size doesn't fit all, and you can do whole days, half days, close or not close the library. And some libraries even combine with other libraries for their staff days. Okay, we're now going to start with a couple of polls. Let me bring that up. Okay, see if you can do that. We've got have you been to a staff day, and also what I do at the library. Let me make sure I open them. Okay, so we do have a lot of people that have done them at your library, a few at another library, and also never have done them, about 12%. And we do have a good mix of people from what you do at your library. Overwhelmingly, a lot of directors and some in other categories. Okay, well, thanks. Okay, well, I think it's time we're going to get started. I am going to open up the presentation. And soon as I do that, I'm happy to turn it over to Tina Snyder.
Good morning, everyone. Maybe let me know in the chat that if you can hear me okay. We did a sound check earlier, but my first webinar nerves are getting to me, I think. All right, awesome. All right, well, again, I'd like to thank everyone for attending the webinar today. This will be my first live webinar that I have done, so bear with me as I muddle through. Wanted to get started, and first thing I wanted to talk about just briefly is our library, because all libraries are different, all library directors are different, but a little bit about me is I have 19 and a half years in library land. I began as children's librarian in 2000 and then became director in 2003 and have been until now. Hoping to retire here, but you never know where your path might lead you. I am a wife, a bonus mom to 3 adult children, and my husband and I have a son who's a junior at Western Kentucky University. I'm also a Mimi to 4 awesome grands, and plus I wear several other hats within the community, as I'm sure that many of you do as well. A little bit about our library. We have a team of 12. We have 7 full-time, 5 part-time. Our hours are listed there. We're a rural county of 8,794 people. We are located on the Ohio River adjacent to southern Indiana. We're 4 cities make up our county, or 3 cities, Hawesville, Lewisport, and Reynolds Station. We're highly industrial and a big farming community, and there's other additional information about our county there. I think it's interesting to learn about what makes each library tick, and because we are a public service entity, it's helpful for us to know our communities. So as you are planning and creating new opportunities for your staff, you always want to keep in mind there are a lot of options out there. We have a bookmobile that serves the south end of our county and our shut-ins, and we also take the bookmobile to our schools. We have one staff person who is our bookmobile librarian, and then we have one person who is our sub driver. This is our main branch, which is located in Hawesville. It is our main branch. It was built in 2011, and it is 10,000 square feet. We have a Lewisport branch, which we actually lease the right-hand side of the building from the Lewisport City Hall at the current time. It's 1,800 square feet. And this is what the rendering is for the new Lewisport branch that will be finished in late 2020. So we have a little bit of growing that has happened over the last 6 years, and we do not have a lot of programming space in our branch, so we will soon be breaking ground on our new branch, and I am super excited about it. It's been about 10 years in the making, so it's long overdue. All right, what we'll cover today is the who, the why, the where, the how, and the what of staff development days. I think it's important for me to clarify, because we are coming from all different avenues of library land. For us at our library, HCPL, a staff meeting is something that I hold on a monthly basis normally. And it's about a 2-hour meeting that we have normally in the morning. The library just opens late. And we hit the high points of issues that have happened since the last staff meeting. We hit just key issues, key questions that are in the minds of our staff, and we do that on a regular basis. The staff development day, however, that's a different animal. That's an opportunity where all staff are together for an entire day. We close the library, and normally I might bring outside trainers in. I might just plan the day and I'll do the presenting. But I want to clarify the difference between the two, because we are coming from different areas of the library and different areas in the United States. So just for the purposes of this webinar, the staff development day that I'll be discussing is a full day. But as Paula mentioned, there are different ways to spin it, so you do what fits you. All right, who? Well, this sounds pretty simple. Yes, it's the staff, all the staff at your library. You can invite other surrounding libraries to send in a few people to attend. We love to do this here by inviting other library staff from other area libraries in, because we get new ideas. It gives them the time to talk together, commiserate together also, but just grow together and sharing. We have come across many good ideas by sharing with other libraries. The staff size for us, of course, is 12, but if you have a larger library, you might have to rethink the game plan a little bit on how best to manage that. We were at a workshop some time ago, and a couple of my staff sat in on a session, and when we got back, we had kind of like a round table just among our group, and one of them said, felt sorry for one of the other libraries that was in our meeting, because they had over 80 something staff, and they didn't even know some of the other people that worked at the other branch libraries. And I told them, we just kind of had a little discussion about that, and it just depends on how you work it, the funds you have available, and what's going to work best for your building and your crew. The main thing is just to have follow through with all the staff. Don't leave a group out if you do separate. And I think it's important to always have one line of communication that is open to everyone that's in your establishment. That way everybody has the opportunity to be a part of the team. All right, why? Why do you want to do this? Well, it's worth it. Your staff is worth it, and your community is worth it. The opportunity to brainstorm, have teamwork, allows staff to learn about each other, which also presents a great bonding opportunity, which will lead to better working environment. And it allows for the staff to have fun together. Plus, it's a continuing education opportunity that will lead to library service improvement possibly. Where do you have a staff development day? Well, there are a lot of options, but I think that a change of scenery is a huge, huge positive for productivity, a change in mindset, creativity, and definitely an increase and improvement in morale. So if you have the opportunity to change the scenery, do it. We have had our meetings at our library, and I encourage everyone, if you do that, get cozy. Don't meet in your office spaces. Meet out in the circ area where you can spread out, sit on your cozy furniture or something like that. We have had our staff development days at off-site locations. We have a local park that has a shelter area and a meeting area in the beach house. We've used that. We have gone to a retreat location that was actually a retreat spot that you could rent and go to have retreats with your staff or your church group, or have a girls' day or something like that. Also a state park, a local bed and breakfast. We had a local bed and breakfast here at one point, and we met there. They served us breakfast, they served us lunch. It was pretty awesome, actually. Then also just rent out another meeting space. There might be some other meeting spaces in your town or your county. We do not have a whole lot here in Hancock County. We are the main meeting space in our county. There are a couple of others, but they're very limited on their technology availability and also their space. You could meet at a friend's house if you have a friend, which we do have. One of our Friends of the Library members, she has a house that she loves to cook and loves to cater and loves to throw parties. So she actually offered her house to us for a staff development day. She lives on a farm in the south part of the county, and it was a beautiful fall day, and we went out there. We met in her living room. She served us breakfast. She served us lunch. It was a great day. Quite a few good ideas were created that day. And then also maybe at a cabin at the lake in the fall. We did this back in September, actually, fall of 2018, and it was wonderful. It's just nice to get away from your library, as you all know. All right, how do you do it? Well, the first thing, you've got to ask the board for permission, or at least we do here in Hancock County Public Library. Our board of trustees is our governing body, and anytime I'm going to close the library for a training, I always ask them for permission to do so. I will post that closing in the local paper, on social media, and then of course on the library doors, and then explain why. I think it's important for your community to know why you're closing, what you're doing, and hopefully they will be more understanding of you being closed for an entire day. I do try to plan the day so that it's not by a holiday when we're actually going to be closed for holiday. Also try to plan the day so that, of course, no staff are off that day, because you really want staff all to participate. We also ask staff what they would want to have as focus areas for that day. One of the big things about having a staff development day is that you want your staff to walk away with something, hopefully multiple things. But normally I will ask them ahead of time, sometimes a month ahead, sometimes 2 weeks ahead, what are some topics you want to cover for the next SDD? And they will shoot me back emails, and then I can go from there and build. Then, of course, include your own focus areas. As a director, you come across different things in blogs and at workshops and webinars and even on listservs that, oh, that's a good idea. I need to cover that with staff for on our next staff day. So definitely make sure to include your own focus areas, but then observe your team and make a list. If you see there's maybe some conflict kind of bubbling among a couple of staff, you might want to incorporate a team building exercise about that specific thing. You don't want to call them out in front of everybody, of course, but if you tweak it a little bit and do a little role play or a little team building to maybe bring about, oh, she's talking about me, she knows what's going on. Because, directors sometimes have eyes and ears all over, but sometimes you don't. But if you come across something like that, that's a perfect topic to include in your staff day. I organize the agenda for the day. I definitely include some fun, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I do send the agenda to staff ahead of time because I want them to know what we're doing, how the day's laid out. I think it helps with their cooperation. And then also, you want to plan to go out for lunch or have it catered in. Our library has a Friends of the Library group, and they are phenomenal about spoiling us. And one way they spoil us is to treat us for lunch on our staff development days, and also at various other times throughout the year. But normally we have our staff development days once a quarter. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. But we do have our staff development days once a quarter. Sometimes I would love to have them more often, but then other times I think once a quarter is plenty. But again, that's you choose what's the best fit for your library. And then the biggie is to have candy available all day, especially chocolate, because after lunch, the food coma sets in, and sometimes you lose them. Here is a sample agenda from a staff development day that we had back in September of 2016. You don't have to stick to just minute by minute. I'm not that kind of a stickler. We may be done with the icebreaker in 5 minutes. Okay, well then we'll just start a little bit earlier. But it is helpful to have an agenda to keep yourself on track, to keep the staff lined out as to what is happening. And of course, I'm pretty lenient because if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, you get up and go to the bathroom. If you don't want to wait till the break, that's not a big deal. Everybody has to kind of, like I said, tweak this to fit themselves. But it is helpful to have an agenda. All right, what do you do? What do you do at the staff development days? All right, so I know that Paula had mentioned don't read off your slides, but I wanted to make sure that I hit every one of these. This is just a sampling of some that were very successful and some things that weren't, and I will explain which is which as we go. The first thing I do is start with an icebreaker. Now, most of the time your staff is going to know everyone. In our situation, that's the case. In some libraries, I realize that's not the case. However, when we had our last staff development day, we had one new staff member. And so I thought it was important for all of us to get to know each other. Plus, I had seen a little bit of animosity happening between a couple of staff who had been here a while and wasn't sure what was the reason for that. And so I thought, we just need to know a little bit more about each other. You think of 12 people, it is like a little family, and I tell that to anybody I'm interviewing that, if they were to become a team member here, it is like a little family. But sometimes you just don't know a whole lot about the people we work with. So the first one of the activities we did was called Brown Bag, and I gave all of the staff a brown paper sack that I just picked up at the local grocery, didn't charge me, and I asked them to put things in that brown bag that described themselves, things that they enjoy, something that indicates something that they enjoy, just to help each staff learn more about each other. So they had to bring the brown bag, of course, to the staff development day, and then we went around the room and everyone pulled all of their different things out. One person pulled out a little Christmas ornament, and the reason why she put that in there is because she loves Christmas and she loves decorating for Christmas. So guess what she got to do come November when it's time to put the tree up and the decorations at the library? She was our new person to decorate for Christmas. And she was in her element, and it's something she really enjoys, and she wants to do it every year. And I am like, raising the roof on that one, because that's something that I kind of get tired of doing. After I've done it at home, I don't want to do it here. Another thing we did, another lady, she brought a motorcycle helmet. She and her husband have a motorcycle, and not everyone knew that. Yes, be careful what you put in that bag. That's exactly right, Kim. But for the most part, it was a very interesting thing to try. And luckily, there wasn't anything that was offending to anyone. And it was a lot of fun. We got a lot of laughs out of it as well. The next one is an About Me poster. And some of you guys are probably young enough to remember. I'm not, but I remember my son having to do it in second grade. He had to do a poster that talked about where he talked about himself and told sports he liked, and different activities. And so I thought, let's just do that. So I had each of the staff do an About Me poster. It can be a full-size poster board. It can be a half-size. It's just totally up to you. But they would put pictures on their board that describe them. I should have taken a picture of mine. It's on the side of my desk, but I did not. Apologize for that. But like, for instance, mine has a picture of my grands, a picture of my kids, my husband, a picture of my church, a picture of a lady with earbuds laying in a chair by a waterfall, because I love waterfalls and I love listening to music. But as we created our boards, we brought them to staff day, and everyone had to go around the room, stand in front of each other, and explain their poster. This was a learning curve for some, because not everyone on my team is comfortable speaking in front of each other. But slowly but surely, those who, when we initially did this years ago, they have come out of that, and now they're eager. Well, I don't know if I'd say eager, but they're more willing to get up in front of the staff. So they do. I did have them put them on their desk so that any of the team who were working could come and check it out at different times. I think most of them have taken them down now, but that was several years ago when we did that. Another activity is called sharing your Skittles, and you can use other candies, other colored candies besides Skittles. For instance, each color of Skittles represents something that you want the library team members to share. So, for instance, a red Skittle, you have to share something that aggravates you. It can be personal, it can be work related, it can just be in general. I don't really put a lot of specifics on this because it's more about sharing and get to knowing each other than fine-tuning something specific. Like green, a favorite food. Blue, favorite color. Orange, favorite vacation spot. A yellow, something you do for fun. And how this works is you just pass around a large bag of Skittles, and you have them grab a handful out, and then they put them on their table, and then based on what colors they got, that's what they share. And yes, they can eat them after it's over if they like. There are other ways to do this. I have some of my resources, a bibliography for some of the resources in the presentation, but some of these I did so many years ago, I don't have those resources still quickly available, so I will get those and get those on a handout and get those back to Paula, so hopefully she can email those out to all participants today. Some of these I just got at conferences. The ideas were shared at a conference when I attended, or a webinar I did, and I just jotted them down and went from there. All right, yes, I will share my color guide, and really you can just create your own. You don't necessarily have to use mine, but let me do it one more time. The red is something that aggravates you. The green is favorite foods. The blue is favorite color. Orange is a favorite vacation spot. And a yellow is something for fun. Okay. Just checking my notes here. I got a little off my note track here. All right, so the next part is get the ideas flowing. So the first one is, how do our customers or patrons see us? All right, and the key word there is see. Yes, Jeff. I'm sorry, I just saw his question. Do you ask them to bring an item for the brown bag ahead of time? Yes, they know ahead of time. I give them the bag ahead of time, and I email them out what the purpose of the brown bag is. I normally do it a week or so before the meeting, and that way they have time to gather their stuff. You're welcome. All right, so on the how do our customers, patrons see us, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on the next slide. So I want to skip to the one where it talks about focus. Focus is something that we started talking about at a staff meeting because we were getting a little preoccupied by our phones, preoccupied by just life, I guess. And one thing that I try to explain to staff that, if you're not 110% not ready to give that when you come in the door, just text me or call me and let me know you need a day away. And because things happen and sometimes you can't be focused when you get to work. However, you're not doing anyone any favors if you can't be. So I decided to do just this little, and it just came to me. I didn't get it from anywhere, but I was just seeing an issue starting to develop with my crew, and I felt like we needed to retain our focus because we weren't. So I had them write the word focus and then write it straight down, where the like F, and then under the F was the O, the C, the U, the S, and then write things for each of those letters. The first time they did it, we wrote things that cause their focus to wander. Then, and explain a little bit about it. So they're going to have 5 things that make their focus wander. Then, a little bit later, after we've talked about those, and I don't ask them to share all of them, because sometimes, that can be hard for people to do that, especially if they've written something they really don't want to share. So then after that, excuse me, then we do another focus, and we do it the same way, F-O-C-U-S, straight underneath each other, and then we do ways to improve our focus. And it's amazing how just when they're made to sit and think about it, the things that they can come up with. Some things were just as simple as leave my phone on silent when I'm at work. But until they actually sat and thought about it, they didn't really realize that it was becoming an issue until they actually sat and thought about it. So the focus is really interesting. Now, this is one of my things that on one person, it didn't produce what I was hoping it would produce. So that, I don't want to really consider it a fail, but it was close to a fail for the one staff. Because they weren't involved, they weren't focused that day, and so then we just had to sit down later on to discuss, what was going on, and I, volunteered to see if there was something I could do to help. In the end, it wasn't anything that I could do. It was totally something that was outside of work. But some things you try, they fail, and it's okay. You just tweak it and go back at it, do it a little bit differently the next time. Something else, another way to get the ideas flowing is talk about bulletin board or display ideas. I know that a lot of us do bulletin boards and displays, and maybe some of you have certain people who on your staff who like to do those. Great, take advantage of that. Take advantage of their creativity, but also don't let the rest of your crew off the hook, because even though it's not their thing, quote unquote, everybody has valuable ideas, and it could be some of those who are the quietest in your group. So always give an opportunity to the whole team to brainstorm ideas for bulletin boards and displays. The way I do it here, and it's not it's not perfect, but I have one person who really loves to do displays, so I let that be her niche. She's very creative, she's very artsy, and that's something she wanted to do. So she just did the displays. Well, in the meantime, I have another person who, lo and behold, they can draw. And I mean, they can flat out draw. Well, I didn't know that until I happened to be out front one day, and they were helping this other team member do a bulletin board, and I was like, holy cow, that's gorgeous. And he turns around and he said, oh, thanks. And I was like, I didn't know you could draw. And He said, "Yeah, I dabble a little." Well, his dabble is pretty awesome. So now he helps out with displays a little bit, and it's just a matter of plugging in where you can plug in. Uh, Another is a Brainstorm Bucket, and I do have a picture of that. That is actually hanging on my wall in my office right now, across from me. And what that is I put that up at a staff development day, and as we're discussing different ideas or a certain topic or a certain goal that we're working toward, if you have an idea that pops in your head, jot it on a post-it, get up and go put it in the Brainstorm Bucket. And this is like something that's fluid. The Brainstorm Bucket is fluid because we have things on there now that we did at a staff development day in September of 18, because it was right after a local festival. It's called the Sargam Festival, and we had our staff development day right after that festival occurred. And sometimes you have your thoughts a day late and a dollar short. And I did. And I was like, we really could have had a presence at that festival in some fashion. Or we could have had programs the week before the festival to support that festival without physically having to be at the festival every day for the entire time it's open. So we started brainstorming ideas. And a couple of things that we came up with was to have a TP display in here in the library. Also to have books about collecting old toys. Also have maybe a display of old toys. Also have recipe books out that had different biscuit recipes, or craft books. Those are some things that are actually at our fair, at our Sargam Festival. And so it's just a way to connect the library to public events. We do it with our county fair every year, but the light bulb had never gone off to do something like that for the Sargam Festival. So this year we're hoping to do that. Next thing to do for ideas flowing is do some cross training. I have 5 staff who will be eligible for retirement within 8 years of each other, and within 5 people will be going out within 8 years, like within the same 8 years. So we started doing some additional cross training. We did it a little bit, but not as much as we should have been. So you can always cross train at staff development days. You have a cataloger who's close to retirement, you need somebody who knows what's going on there, use staff development day, 2 or 3 hours of that where you can send a staff person with that cataloger to do some training. Then of course you're going to go to lunch. We normally will go out, but sometimes we do have it catered in, and like I said before, our friends in the library will treat. Do we want to take a break and do some questions, maybe, Paula, real quick?
Yeah, we did have an earlier question. Let me get that. Leslie asked, with the About Me posters, do they do these ahead of time, or do they do those on the spot during your staff days?
Actually, I had them do them ahead of time. And I did tell them that they wanted to bring their stuff. They could work on it at work. That way it was, they were on the clock when they were doing it. Some prefer just to do it at home where they could actually think about it, and but either way could work.
Okay, great, thanks. Looks like we've got Susie typing and some others. Let's see what they say. We had people earlier say these are some really great ideas that they hadn't thought about before, so thanks so much for sharing all of this.
Oh, well, glad to do it. I'm hoping to get some ideas from you guys too here shortly.
Do you have a poll at the end that we can bring up and I can get those ideas?
Awesome.
Okay, so Susie asked, do your library board members, trustees ever participate or assist? And you mentioned your friends group.
Right. The board does not. I have all of my board members work 40-hour plus a week jobs, and actually I think I have one that has retired now, but they do not. I haven't ever asked them to. However, we do a meet and greet with our board members, trustees, when we have new staff. At least once a year, we'll have a meet and greet. They can come in. We'll have cake or cupcakes or cookies or something like that, and just have a meet and greet with staff. But no, I've not ever asked them, and we might have one or two that might want to, but they would have to take off work to do that, and I'm not comfortable asking them to take off work to do something like that since they're in a voluntary position.
Okay, great. And I just put a couple of notes that I know I did go to one staff day where the board members came. I think it's only happened once. And another one, library would have a yearly tea for their board members to meet the staff. So that's just another idea.
Right, good.
Okay, any other ideas or questions right now? I will poll you guys hopefully at the end. I do have a poll to get some great, awesome ideas of what you do. So if you could think about those and hold those till that poll comes up.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. I just happened to look at the clock, and I want to make sure that I don't get buzzed out for not having enough time.
Okay.
The afternoon energizer, that's something that, after you eat lunch, your food coma sets in, and you've got to have something to get them hyped up and ready to get going for the rest of the afternoon. So one thing we did that was super fun is we had a scavenger hunt, and that, yes, there's some prep time for you or whoever designs it. There is some prep time ahead of time. But we divided into teams, and we had clues. Some clues were text to the teams. Some clues were placed around town. And then what they did is we started at the library. We sent them out. I gave them their boundaries within the community. Don't go past, here. Don't go any further than this. And then off they went. And then the team that came back first with the final clue, the final thing they were supposed to find, each team member received a gift card, and our friends provided those. That was one of the best team building activities we've done. I think all the staff really enjoyed that. I think that, just as a side note to staff development days, our team gets exhausted, and it's our job as directors to boost their morale and just encourage them, plus to coach them. I have as much fun on these staff development days as they do. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do, and I enjoy preparing for them for the most part, but also like to see them having fun and interacting with each other, and I love to see us getting productive. And we always, and I can say we always have some really good ideas that come out of these staff development days. Another activity for afternoon energizer is a beach ball toss. This is extremely simple, but you just blow up a beach ball, you get in a circle, and you start volleying, like hitting the ball back and forth between each other. And each time you hit it, you say a food or a color, and whatever your topic is that you're studying that day or you're learning about that day, you could use that as something. It's just a way to interact with each other, have a little fun, and just relax. The next thing is, did you know? Now this takes a little prep time. About a week ahead of time, I send out some questions to all the staff. They all get the same questions, and then they answer the questions and send their answers back to me. Then I'll compile a game board, similar to bingo. And you all probably have done something very similar to this at other webinars or meetings and things. But you have your bingo sheet, and then you go around to each staff person. You can only ask one question, and you've got to match the staff with the answer. So I'm figuring you can do a show of hands if you wanted to raise your hand if you've done this. I'm sure that a lot of that, this is not something new to a lot of you. But it does give you a chance to get to know your team and the people that you're working with every day. Plus, it's a lot of fun because one time we did it, and we had a lady who we knew she loved cats, love cats. Well, I put two different people on. I put that on there twice, and so somebody called me out on it. They were like, "You've got I love cats on here twice. Is that a mistake?" I was like, "Nope." So it really threw the staff because they knew the one person for sure because they knew she loved cats. But it took a little time for them to figure out the other person who loved cats. So it's, like I said, just another activity. Another thing is bingo, and I mean just regular bingo. You're not paying a quarter for your card or anything like that. You're just sitting down, you're playing bingo, you're relaxing, you're laughing with your team. It's just a way to have fun. Also, Jingo, I don't know if you all are familiar with that, but you can purchase those. There's a vendor, it might be Demco, I'm not sure. But we use them for our programming at our senior centers and at our nursing home. But we have Jingo, and there's different themes, so that you don't really have to think a whole lot to do it, but it's a lot of fun. And we can give out chocolate Hershey Kisses, and they can use those as their cover pieces. And then when you're done, you get to eat your Hershey Kisses. You can also use Cheez-Its. They can use those as their cover pieces, and when they're done, they can eat them. Another is Library Wheel of Fortune. Back in probably 2005, 2006, I purchased one of those prize wheels, from a PR company, and I don't remember the name of it. It might be Demco, might be the library store. I forget which one now, but it's actually a spinning wheel, and we use it at our county fair. The little slices of pie that go around the little sections of the wheel. Each one of those are something different, and you could do the Wheel of Fortune. And I haven't done this one yet. I'm hoping to maybe do this one at our day in August. I'm going to research it a little bit more to figure out how exactly to make that work for us. But we do use that wheel, like I said, at our county fair. And so if you decided to purchase that, you would get multiple uses out of it. Somebody mentioned Jeopardy in the chat. Yes, I have seen the Jeopardy. We've not done that yet, but I have seen that. It looks, and if you're a Jeopardy fan, you're going to love it. Then after all the fun is over, you do a wrap up. The Postit Bonanza, that is just something where I ask all staff to jot down something that they took away that day, something they're going to try to do differently, and then post it up on the wall. It just gives people a chance to reflect on the day quietly, and hopefully they'll come away with at least one post-it on the wall. It would be awesome if they would have 4 or 5, but if they could just do one, that's great. And then also we do any last thoughts, ideas, or issues. Sometimes as you're discussing different things, oh, that's right, I was going to ask about that. And that's their opportunity to kind of get that question answered if they need it. The quote there that I have listed actually came from a book called It's 180 Ways to Spread Contagious Enthusiasm. And it's by Barbara A. Glanz, Glanz. And this was one of those books that I read through. It's a quick read too, just by the way, because we kind of got in a little gully here, and we had some turnover not because of work related, but just family issues came up and they had to quit, and just different things. And I could tell that things were we just weren't as perky as we used to be. So I read this book, found a few ideas in there, and then incorporated them on a staff development day. But this quote is something that I had all the staff write down and then type up. I typed it up for them, gave it to them, and I said, please post this somewhere that you will see it every day. So this is something that no matter what you're doing, whether you work at the library or you work somewhere else, it's important to know that what you're doing is valuable, and that you're important, and you're making a difference, and you're making a positive difference every day. Then you end with a warm and fuzzy, specifically what you gained from the day, how did it change you, and it can be written or it can be spoken. Most people choose not to, but some will share. You can also look for a TED Talk, or one of my biggies that was a huge hit it's a video. His name is Judson, Judson, Lapply, L-A-I-P-P-L-Y. He does the evolution of dance. Some of you guys may have seen his videos on YouTube. Oh my goodness, guys. We laughed so hard at this. It was hilarious. And since there are multiple generations employed here on our team, some really got it and some didn't really get it, but it was great. Judson, Judson, Lapply, L-A-I-P-P-L-Y. And he has a CD or DVD that you can purchase, which I did purchase. It has a variety of things on it that you can use for staff training. And no, I'm not getting a side bonus by mentioning him, but this is just something that our crew just loved. And it's simple, and it doesn't take a lot of time to pop the DVD in and sit for 15 minutes and watch it. And then make sure that you have some sharing time among staff made available for like roundtable discussion. And then also thank each person for attending and participating. You know, they did not have to show up unless you have different rules than what I do. But I do like for all staff to attend and participate. And I think it's important for you to let them know that you do appreciate them being there. Here are some other options for the what. Online webinars through your state library, which you guys are already familiar with, but incorporate group activities. And then look up staff development resources online. Everybody says, oh, just Google it, just Google it. But there are other options. Webjunction.org. These four are things that I have used in the past for training, and I have found them to be very beneficial. All right, and here's another little bit. Explore new topics. Select an outside trainer or facilitate it yourself. These three bullets underneath select outside trainer. Todd Arwood, he is out of Louisville, Kentucky, and we used him probably 12 years ago to do a joint staff development day where we invited other libraries surrounding us to come, and he was phenomenal. He kept you laughing, he kept you engaged, and it definitely was worth the money. And we did split that cost for bringing him with the other libraries that participated. None of them minded. They knew his reputation. They knew that it would be worth the time and worth the money to attend. Another person that we have used, he's out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, and his name is Bill Waltrip. We actually have him coming for our August 9th event to do safety in the library. And we've invited some area libraries surrounding us to attend as well. And then the Conundrum Workshop, that's actually out of Bowling Green, Kentucky as well. That's one of the escape games. I saw someone, I think, briefly mentioned that over there on the chat. It was a lot of fun, but it was really, depending on your personality traits, for some it was challenging. Me, it was challenging. For some of the other staff, it was just a walk in the park. I mean, they didn't have any problem with it, but there were some who struggled, and it's because based on what your comfort level is, your personality, but it was a very good experience. We had a lot of fun. Also, I encourage you to use local talent, your extension office, conservation office, law enforcement, your EMS personnel, your library attorney. We did a training with all staff. We brought in one of our special education teachers, and we like to say special abilities here at our library. But we brought in a special education educator to do a training with us on autism and how to best serve all customers. And she gave us some really good tips on dealing and making sure that we helped all customers. It was phenomenal. Again, it just was really, really great. And none of these last 5 bullet points, none of those people charge anything to do that. So that's a win. Okay, I'm almost out of time, guys. I'm going to hurry here. You can always cover topics on professionalism, customer service, and efficiency. Talk about public relations, advertising ideas, partner up with partner up your crew with another team member and have them talk about ideas they have. Sometimes it's better for some to bounce ideas off each other, and it creates better quality and quantity of ideas that way. How do we want our patrons to see us? I wrote a huge C on a huge big Post-it note, put it up on the wall, and the staff were asked to only give me words that start with the letter C for how our customers see us. Took us a little bit of time, but they got the point at the end, because how we see them, the patrons seeing us, when you're on the inside looking out, it looks one way. But when you're on the outside looking in, it looks a little different. So, compassionate, caring, they went through a list of C words, and then we turned that around and we used those C words to make value statements, which is the next 2 bullet points down. What do we value as a person? And then what do patrons value? Some people like Jif peanut butter. Some people like Peter Pan peanut butter. Well, what's the difference between the two? What do you value more about Jif, or what do you value more about Peter Pan? Then look at those two things, the things that you value, and see how they compare to what you value in library service. Just a way to have our team look at how patrons are initiating service. What do they see when they come in the building? You can also do some computer troubleshooting with your IT guy. Facebook Frenzy, this is just a simple copy and steal everything. Go to Facebook, start looking around, see what other libraries have done, and don't you be shaking your head at me, because I know all of you all have done it too. You go to other libraries' pages and you say, oh, they've got a great program. We should try that. We need to tweak it because we don't have da-da-da-da-da. But you could still tweak it and make it work for you. So we do that. Maybe for 30 minutes we do nothing but do a Facebook Frenzy. Get on Facebook, look for cool ideas to try. Program Palooza, same kind of thing. You can sit and brainstorm. You can get on Facebook. You can do Google. You can do Pinterest. Just do a Program Palooza where you're pulling out all kinds of programming ideas, putting them on paper. The Scavenger Hunt we talked about earlier, the Staff 411, that's more of just another activity where you can learn about each other. Patron scenarios. I love to do role play. Staff doesn't like it very much, but I love to do role play. And I think that staff get a lot out of that as well. I really do. And then the fish philosophy, some of you probably have had experience with that before. It's a customer service topic, and there's a lot of information out there about that. I know, I gotta go. I'm sorry. All right, the warm and fuzzy, I'm just going to leave this here for you. I have received permission from Bill Wattrop to use this. This is something really important, and if you really think about it, it could change your day. Get feedback from your team on all that you do on your staff development days. You can read through these because she's going to send you the PowerPoint slides. Some things it works, some things it doesn't. I thought having a full day session was a great idea. Some didn't like that. Well, so we switch it up from time to time. And then I'll be happy to take any questions. I apologize, Paula, that it's past my time to stop. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope that everyone who attended felt like they are taking something away from it. I applaud you for working in the library land field. I know it's not a joy every day, but you are doing awesome things, and keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you.
Absolutely no problem at all, Tina. You have so many wonderful ideas. I just thought they had such a great heart and a twist to what maybe some of us normally do. So I really loved it. We're getting a lot of thank yous out there.